Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Responses to Critics, Sheikh Feiz Part 3 under QNet TV. Today I hope to finish our responses to Sheikh Feiz's arguments and hope we can move on next week. There are, I think, 3 arguments to go, and let's proceed. Right, in minute 5.50, Sheikh Feiz quotes the same hadith as he did in our previous episode, where the Prophet was reported to have said, "I have been given the Quran and something similar to it." In Arabic, the phrase "something similar to it" is, and you should take note of this, مثله معه. مثله معه. This hadith is a blatant contradiction with the Quran. I ask you to please open chapter 17 verse 88, where the Prophet was commanded to say by Allah. So Allah told him, Kul. Once again, Allah says, Kul to him. Say, La inni ajtama'ati al-ins wal-jinn. Verily, if the ins and jinn were to gather together, ala ayyatu bimithli hadha al-Quran, upon producing the like of this Quran, la ya'tuna bimithlihi, they cannot produce the like thereof. Walau kana ba'duhum li ba'din zahira, even if they backed each other. So Allah has categorically said that if mankind and jinn were to gather together, they cannot produce the like of this Quran. So the Quran is irreproducible. You simply cannot produce anything like it. Yet the hadith came saying that the Prophet said, I have been given the Quran and something similar to it. مِثْلُهُ مَعْهُ. If you notice, the ayat says, بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. And the hadith says, مِثْلُهُ مَعْهُ. So you have the hadith saying, yes, it's possible, and the Quran say, no, it's impossible. And now we move on to minute 6.20, which is the same hadith. And that hadith quotes the Quraniyun, who say wrongfully, they are wrongfully saying this, what you find as halal in the Quran and what you find as haram in the Quran, take it as such. So therefore, don't take anything except the Quran. So whatever Rasul tells you outside the Quran is not authoritative on you. Obviously, Sheikh Feiz insinuates that this is a wrong position. Excuse me. So the Quran actually responds to this by chapter 6 verse 145, which says, Kul, once again, say. So the Prophet said this himself. Let's not forget that. Let's never forget that. The Prophet said this himself. Kul, la ajidu fima uhiya ilayya. I do not find in that which has been revealed to me, muharraman ala ta'imin yata'amuhu, anything forbidden for an eater to eat, illa an yakuna maita, except what has died of itself, aw daman masfuhan, or blood poured forth, aw lahma khinzir fa innahu rijs, or the flesh of swine, for that is unclean, aw fisqan uhilla li ghayri Allahi bihi, or that which is a transgression other than Allah having been invoked on it. فَمَنْ اِضْطُرَّ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ, whoever has been driven by necessity and not desiring or causing exceeding the limit, فَإِنَّ رَبَّكَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, then your Lord is forgiving and merciful. So here, 4 things are mentioned to be haram, and these things have been clearly detailed. So would it not be a contradiction for Rasulullah to say, I do not find in what has been revealed to me? Everything's been revealed to him, and he said, I don't find anything in what's been revealed to me except for these 4 things. That being the case, for him to come along in hadith to say, well, that's also haram, this is also haram, that would contradict what this ayah says, and therefore Rasulullah could not have said that. Now we come to the final argument of Sheikh Feiz, which is in minute 7.45, and he quotes possibly the most common traditionalist argument in support of hadith, and that argument is quoting chapter 59 verse 7, which says, وَمَا أَتَاكُمْ رَسُولٌ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ أَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. So whatever the Rasul gives you, take it, and whatever the Rasul forbids you, stay away from it. This is, I would like to say that this is not just a decontextualized verse. This is not even a verse. This is half a verse, and not the top half or the bottom half. It's the middle half. And for a person to quote this without quoting the rest of the verse, which would give a totally different context, that shows extreme carelessness. And I'm really quite surprised that this is the most common argument there is. I mean, Sheikh Feiz is not alone in leveling this argument, but for a person who was deeply concerned that the Quran cannot be understood fully without hadith, he should also be deeply concerned that the Quran cannot be understood unless it is read in context. After all, it is Allah who put the verses together, and so the context, not just the context in a passage, but the context in one single verse, must tell you what the verse is about. Let's read the verse together. The verse says, what Allah has bestowed on His Messenger from the people of the townships belongs to Allah and His Messenger, and to kindred, to the orphans, to the needy and the wayfarer, in order that it may not be a circuit between the wealthy among you. Right off the bat, you can see that this is not about hadith. This is about the distribution of wealth. Now the verse continues, and take, وَمَا أَتَاكُمْ, and take what the messenger gives you, and deny yourself from that which he withholds from you, and take guard from Allah, for Allah is strict in punishment. So you can see even the verse is not even quoted in full. It continues to say, and fear Allah, and take guard from Allah, and for Allah is strict in punishment. So that being the case, this is not a full verse. This is not even the top half or the bottom half. This is the middle half of a verse. And we need to stay away from decontextualized quotes like this. I mean, Sheikh Feiz, for a person who is concerned that you want to know exactly what the Quran says correctly, you are not doing something right here. You are indeed committing a faux pas in your reading. So that ends our response to Sheikh Feiz. Essentially, I find Sheikh Feiz's arguments to be somewhat deceptive in how he presents them. I mean, he presents verses like the one we just saw. He presents hadith without showing that how the hadith actually reacts, or rather interacts, with the Quran. And he presents circular arguments. He quotes hadith to prove hadith. How can you, obviously hadith literature would support hadith, even though some hadith do not, but some hadith do support hadith. So naturally you can't use hadith as evidence to prove hadith. That's circular logic. So unfortunately, I find Sheikh Feiz's presentation to be less than veracious. I cannot accept his arguments, and I hope he watches this video series and reconsiders his positions. That ends our response to Sheikh Feiz, and hopefully in the next series we will be dealing with other arguments, perhaps from Sheikh Yusuf Estes, or there are a few other YouTube videos which I have also looked at. I hope to respond to them in the future. Thank you very much for viewing this series, and we hope you continue to watch QNet TV. Have a pleasant evening. Bye.